Well, surprise, surprise! I decided to go 20 minutes early tonight. As you all know, the stream was originally supposed to begin at 10 o'clock, but I pretty much want to have the stream over with by midnight, if possible. Anyway, welcome to my stream where I talk about a few of my favorite guitar players. Now, I went by guitar players that have influenced me as a guitar player myself. For this episode, I only picked 10. I mean, there's definitely a lot more. There's a plethora of guitar players I'm influenced by. But I went with the 10 main ones that really made me want to play guitar. And where I pretty much get my influences from, when it comes to writing music for Holocaust, And we got Metal Rel fan Mike in the house. What's up, brother? Welcome to the stream. So I'm going to get right into the list. I got 10 of them here, like I said. And really, they're not in any particular order. They're just 10 guitar players I absolutely love. And it's really tough narrowing this down because I did leave off a lot of guitar players that I'm also really influenced by. Like honorable mentions would be John Schaefer of Iced Earth, Alex Skolnick of Testament, which I'm surprised did not make this list. You got Chuck Cylinder of Death. Obviously, guys like Jimi Hendrix, Ritchie Blackmore, Tony Iommi. How could I leave Tony Iommi off this list? But as I was putting this together, and I'm probably kind of regretting this list a little bit. But anyway, because now that I named off those names, especially Tony Iommi. Why is Tony Iommi not on this freaking list? Because Electric Funeral by Black Sabbath was the very first song I ever learned on guitar way back when I was 14, It's hard, man. It's very hard. But I narrowed it down. Yeah, and I left Randy Rhoads off. But anyways, it's just my list of players that I really love. And that I feel have a big influence on my guitar playing as a guitarist. Excuse me there. So coming in at number 10, to me, a guitar player that needs way more recognition. He should have got it back in the day too, because this guitar player is phenomenal. The first time I heard this guitar player, I was just blown away. All right, we got Chris Knotts here just in time for my for my list of 10 guitar players that inspired me to play guitar. But anyways, coming in at number 10, I got Chris Oliva of Sabotage. Rest in peace. To me, Chris Oliva is the most underrated guitar player in metal. Absolutely underrated. I've talked about Chris Oliva so much over the years. On my old channel, I actually did a tribute video to Chris Oliva, which I'm thinking about redoing that video, actually. I just put together a bunch of clips and made a tribute to Chris Oliva. I did it for Dimebag Daryl also. But Chris Oliva, his guitar playing was just jaw-dropping phenomenal. What that guy could do with the electric guitar, man, is just amazing. Some of my favorite solos would be the solo he does in Holocaust off of Sirens. City Beneath the Surface off the Dungeons Are Calling. Obviously, Hall of the Mountain King. 24 hours ago. In fact, 24 hours ago was the very first Sabotage track I ever heard. And I could not believe that freaking guitar solo at the end of that track, where Chris is just shredding. Really good stuff. But Chris Oliva, for me, comes in at number 10. He has other tremendous guitar work, too. Especially on the track Believe from the Streets album, Edge of Thorns. I mean, my goodness. Just a plethora of other tracks, too. Temptation Revelation, which is another tremendous track by Chris Oliva from the Gunner Ballet album. You know, when the crowds are gone. I could just go on and on when it comes to Chris Oliva. He needs more recognition. He needs mentioned more. And it's sad that he never got the proper recognition he deserves, when he was alive. Coming in at number 9, another one of my all-time favorite lead guitar players. I'm talking about George Lynch of Dokken. That's right, George Lynch, to me, one of the all-time greatest guitar players when it comes to metal. Another one, too, who had an amazing style. I mean, you listen to those old Dokken albums, tracks like When Heaven Comes Down, Alone Again, In My Dreams, Dream Warrior, Tooth and Nail, all those old Dokken tracks. And let's not forget the awesome instrumental Mr. Scary, one of my favorite instrumentals of all time when it comes to Dokken and when it comes to George Lynch. Yeah, man, George Lynch is, to me, another guitar player, who had a great feel, a very melodic player, but also a very shreddy player, Yeah, man. Now, I went through a loop here. I threw in a couple rhythm guitar players, too, because I'm going by what influenced me, what made me want to play guitar. So it's not just lead guitar players also, it's also rhythm guitar players. So coming in at number 8 is Scott Ann of Anthrax, Sod. I'll tell you why I put Scott Ann here. Naturally, because of his riffs and that heavy crunch he had on those early Anthrax albums. And pertainly on Speak English or Die by Sod. I mean, March of Sod, absolutely iconic. What an intro to an album. Still one of the heaviest freaking intros to any album that's in existence. You got March of Sod, you got Milk. I wish I had some goddamn milk. You know where I'm going here? Anyways. Then you have other great tracks too, like AIR, Madhouse, Among the Living, Caught in a Mosh, Be All End All, and a bunch of other great tracks that Scott Ian played on and wrote. Indians, Imitation of Life, which Imitation of Life is actually an SOD track originally. That's right, titled Aren't You Hungry, which Aren't You Hungry was on the first MOD album. It did eventually get recorded for the SOD comeback album, Bigger Than the Devil, back in 1999. But yeah, for anybody that don't know that, Imitation of Life is pretty much Aren't You Hungry, Just reading everybody's comments here. Yes, Bruce Collett's a great guitar player too. George is a great player. He has his own style. Damn right he does. In My Dreams, such a good song. Damn right. Breaking the Chains by Dokken. Oh my god, that ripped is killer, dude. I love that track. You know what? Malcolm Young should have been on this list too. See, it was hard to narrow down 10. But Malcolm Young is definitely a great guitar player. Actually, Malcolm Young is actually a better guitar player than Angus. Yeah. In fact, on the first AC/DC album, Malcolm Young's actually doing most of the lead on the original Australian version of High Voltage, that is. But yeah, we miss Malcolm Young. Rest in peace. I agree. Malcolm Young definitely deserves more credit than he gets. Because Malcolm Young was actually a better guitar player than Angus Young. A lot of people don't know that. No mock on Angus, but, facts are facts. Okay, so my number 7 pick. Okay. I went with Wolf Hoffman of Accept. Now, reason why I went with Wolf Hoffman, because of definitely his Teutonic German guitar influence, obviously. And definitely because of his neoclassical influences, too. I mean, Wolf Hoffman has some amazing guitar solos. Even to this day, on that new Accept album, Too Mean to Die, man, he's playing some just excellent solos. But that's how Wolf has been throughout his whole entire career. Even on the first album, you take a track like Sounds of War from the first album. That's Wolf Hoffman basically doing his best Ole John Roth impersonation, and it's good stuff. I mean, obviously, Fast as a Shark, excellent stuff. Breaker, Princess of the Dawn. Hell, even the title track, Metal Heart from Metal Heart, where he does some excellent solos in that album. What about TV War? He does a really good track, or he does some really good solos on TV War. But yeah, Wolf Hoffman is definitely one of the greatest lead guitar players when it comes to lead guitar playing. Still doing it all these years later, man. Yeah. Wolf Hoffman comes in at number 7 from Accept. Coming in at number 6, Gary Holt of Exodus. Man, you talk about a guy that has riffs. Some of the greatest heavy metal, or thrash metal riffs, what am I saying? Thrash metal riffs have been written by Gary Holt, Bonded by Blood. That whole first Exodus album. Just absolute fucking mayhem and destruction on that album when it comes to Gary Holt's rhythm guitar playing. And you got to remember, too, when Gary Holt joined Exodus, he didn't know how to play guitar very well. Kirk Hammett's the one who actually taught. Yeah, Kirk Hammett is actually the one who taught Gary Holt how to play guitar, believe it or not. Boy, Gary Holt picked it up fast. Let me tell you. You go through, the Pleasures of the Flesh album with tracks like, Brain Dead, Chemikill. Just excellent riffs on that album, too. Fabulous Disasters, loaded with riffs. Corruption has really cool riffs. Open Season, like Father, like Son, Cage in Hell, Impact is Imminent. Again, another album just loaded with riffs. God, man. Yeah, Impact is Imminent. Oh, man, what else is on that album? Objection Overruled. That's on Force of Habit, never mind. Oh, Changing of the Guard. That's some of Gary Holt's best guitar playing, bar none. That's my favorite track off of Impact is Imminent, actually. Changing of the Guard. Even on Force of Habit. Yeah, Force of Habit would be deemed the worst Exodus album. But even on that album, you got a couple cool moments. Like Me, Myself, and I had some okay riffs. Architecture of Pain, man, what an epic track on that album. The title track, Force of Habit, had some pretty decent riffs. Feeding Time at the Zoo, Going to Temple of the Damned, Blacklist, another excellent track. Shovel-headed Kill Machine, the playing just got more brutal and more intense. Death and Phenemy, Raise, 44 Magnum Opus. Yeah. So yeah, Gary Holt comes in at number 6. Can't wait to hear the new Exodus album, by the way. I'm fucking stoked and excited for it. Yep, Gary Holt comes in at number 6, man. What a great guitar player. All right, now we're up to number 5. Number 5 is pretty obvious, but I went with Dave Mustaine of Megadeth, obviously. And Dave has had a huge influence on my playing, In fact, I have a couple tracks written that I wrote years ago, actually. One called Freedom is Dead. That's very Mustaine influenced. The rip definitely has a Megadeth vibe to it. I'm probably going to eventually record it. I mean, right now I just have really old, beat-up, rough demos of it from years and years ago that I recorded. But yeah, Dave Mustaine, man, what can we say, man? The mastermind behind Peace Sells, Rust in Peace, Countdown to Extinction. Some of the rips on Kill 'Em All by Metallica. So yeah, Dave Mustaine is a rip master, very technical, when it comes to guitar playing. Like back in the day, Dave was the shit, man. Dave was playing faster than everybody back then, And Dave does have some of the most complex riffs when it comes to metal because, man, playing some of his rhythm guitar parts it's definitely challenging, especially on the Rust in Peace album with tracks like Take No Prisoners. Poison Was the Cure, Rust in Peace Polaris, Five Magics, Dave's just on fire on that album. The debut album, Killing Is My Business, where Dave's just angry and pissed the fuck off after Metallica fired him. I mean, the riffs on that freaking album are just insane, very hard to play on guitar, very hard to duplicate on guitar, too. Especially the title track, Killing Is My Business, or the opening track, Last Rites Love to Death. Those two tracks are very complex. And I still have trouble playing them on guitar when I try to mess around on guitar. So yeah. So Dave Mustaine would be my number 5. Let's see. Gary is a beast. Damn right he is, man. Ace was the best guitarist Kiss ever had. Oh, I agree. Definitely. Ace Frehley, hands down, yeah. Not the most technical or the most proficient guitar player. He was quite sloppy, but what he did fit Kiss. Gary is good. Damn right. Can't wait for the new Overkill album. Me either. Oh my god, yeah, Overkill is definitely the most consistent thrash metal band. I mean, I cannot wait till their new album comes out. Mustaine's riffs on Rust in Peace, Peace Sells, and Dystopia are solid. Damn right they are. Yeah, Dystopia is a great album. I know there's some people that don't like it. I don't know why. I think it's a freaking excellent return to form. Even the more underplayed Megadeth albums are rips solid, or have solid rips. Yeah, I mean, you can find rips in every Megadeth album, really. I mean, the only album I would say that doesn't really have the greatest riffs because it's more of a pop album is Risk. But even then, Dave is still playing some good guitar on that album. Coming in at number 4, We got Michael Shanker, Scorpions, UFO, Michael Shanker Feast, Macaulay Shanker, Michael Shanker's been around for over 50 years. Got his start in the Scorpions way back in 1971. Played on Lonesome Crow, and he was only 15 years old when he played on that album. Of course, back then the Scorpions had more of a krautrock sound, a psychedelic type of sound, a bit more progressive. But yeah, I still listen to the album only because I think Michael Shanker played some freaking impressive leads on that album for only being 15. But yeah, I know a lot of people aren't into Lonesome Crow, but whatever. But Michael Shanker would go on to UFO and record a bunch of great albums with UFO, Phenomenon, Force It, No Heavy Petting, Lights Out, Obsession, the comeback album in the 90s, Walk on Water. So yeah, man, Michael Shanker definitely wrote a lot of riffs too that would influence a lot of thrash bands. Rock Bottom, for example. Rock Bottom is definitely a huge influence on thrash metal bands. You got Lights Out, another pretty killer track. And just so many others. So yeah, Michael Shanker comes in at number 4. It's just one of the greatest players of all time. And he just put out a new album back in January called Immortal. I did buy it. He re-recorded the track In Search of a Peace of Mind from the debut album Lonesome Crow. It sounds phenomenal. I'm telling you. Oh yeah, and I should mention too, Michael Shanker also did play guitar on Love Drive by the Scorpions. I think he played on half that album, where Matthias Jabs came in and played on the other half, because Michael was in and out. And, and let's not forget Assault Attack, which had Gran Bonnet on vocals. Yeah, man, lots of great Michael Shanker music out there, man. Okay, coming in at number 3, I put Ole John Roth. Of course, Ole John Roth was the guitar player who replaced Michael Shanker when Michael Shanker went on to UFO after leaving the Scorpions. Oh man, Ole John Roth, another German guitar player who just has some of the greatest solos. Like Fly to the Rainbow, that title track, Fly to the Rainbow, is so epic. Very Hendrix-like, Then at the end, Ole John Roth's doing these crazy dive bombs. You get these dive bombs and flanger effects, man. I'm telling you, when you listen to that in a vehicle, you're out driving on a back road, it's literally like you're taking off into outer space. You know what I mean? That's the kind of vibe I get from the title track Fly to the Rainbow from Fly to the Rainbow. Other great tracks he did were Dark Lady, really heavy track. He does some amazing freaking twin guitar work on that track. Again, more dive bombs type of stuff. The title track in Trance, excellent stuff. Yeah, 70s Scorpions is way different than 80s Scorpions. I honestly prefer the 70s Scorpions myself. But I do like both eras of the Scorpions. But yeah, Ole John Roth, man. Of course, Cells of Charion. We Burn the Sky has some of his greatest guitar work. That's where you can hear its neoclassical influences. He was definitely probably one of the first when it comes to neoclassical guitar playing. Just absolutely brilliant, the stuff he came up with. Then you go to Electric Sun, excuse me, that first album, Earthquake. Man, he does some great work on that. Firewind, the next album's absolutely amazing, which I do have that on vinyl. Man. But what more could be said about Michael Shanker? Or, getting them confused here. What more could be said about Ole John Roth? One of the all-time greats when it comes to guitar playing. That's why he's at number 3 on my list, because Ole John Roth to me is just downright amazing. I mean, he did a live album too. I think it came out around 98. I forget what it's called right now, but he did a live album where he's playing a bunch of Beethoven pieces, Tchaikovsky pieces, a bunch of these classical composers. He's playing their pieces, and plus he plays a few of his tracks from when he was in Electric Sun. It's freaking amazing. I forget the name of the live album, though. The live album right now off the top of my head. And a couple years ago, he actually did an album called Scorpions Revisited, where he re-recorded some Scorpion tracks that he had written way back in the 70s with the Scorpions, which is really, really good. Yeah, that's somebody I would definitely love to see live. I have not ever seen him live. I heard he actually broke the whammy bar off his guitar. And the thing you notice, too, about his guitar playing, he's a very smooth, fluented player, man. Well, let's talk about Tokyo Tapes, and we will move on to the last 2 guitar players real quick. To me, Tokyo Tapes is probably the best live album of all time by the Scorpions. Ole's guitar tone on that album is just absolutely jaw-dropping and breathtaking. Just excellent stuff, man. Okay, up next, coming in at number 2, we got Dimebag Daryl. That's right, Dimebag Daryl. Easily one of my all-time favorite guitar players, too. To me, Dimebag Daryl was like Randy Rhoads reincarnated. He really was. I mean, you go back and watch early footage of him. He played a lot of Randy Rhoads' lead guitar licks live. He also played, God. I think it was called Axe Master, that instrumental on Quiet Ride's Metal Health. He used to play that live. Or Axe Crazy, I forget what it's called now. I'd have to break out my Metal Health CD. But he used to play that live, I know he would play I Don't Know live. Parts of Revelation, Mother Earth, and Still the Night, You know what? That's very true. Dime was a very underrated vocalist. He could have easily been the lead vocalist of Pantera. I mean, you go back to the Power Metal album, he did the lead vocals on that track, Pussy Tight Tonight. Pussy Tight. You know the track I'm talking about anyways. Yeah, because his vocals kind of sound like they kind of have like a James Hetfield vibe to him. And there's footage of him out there, playing and doing the lead vocals for Seek and Destroy also from '84. Of course, that's also on the Dime Vision DVD that came out several years ago. Yeah, Dime easily could have been the lead vocalist of Pantera. Oh my God, if Dime would have been an Aussie, holy shit, that would have been something else. And it really pisses me off when you get some moron in the metal community that sit there and says, Oh, Dimebag Daryl sucks. He was never a good guitar player. What the fuck are you smoking, dude? What are you talking about? Yeah, Dimebag Daryl was absolutely incredible when it comes to guitar playing. How anybody could sit there and say he sucks is beyond me. And I definitely miss Dimebag Daryl to this day. But that's my number two. A lot of amazing solos. Come on. Cemetery Gates, excellent guitar solo. This Love, oh, one of his best solos. What about Hollow? He plays an absolutely amazing solo in Hollow. That's very reminiscent of Ole John Roth, actually. Of course, Dime had his influences too, being Eddie Van Halen, Ace Frehley, being two of his biggest influences. Yeah, he's definitely missed. One of the all-time greats when it comes to heavy metal guitar playing, man. An absolute shredder who won guitar contest back when he was like 15. Okay, coming in at number one might be very controversial, but when I think back to my earliest memory of wanting to pick up a guitar, it was pretty much because of this guy. I'm talking about James Hetfield of Metallica. Yep, James Hetfield is the one that made me want to pick up a guitar. Just because of his freaking tone on those early Metallica albums. Pertainly Ride the Lightning in it, and Master of Puppets and And Justice for All, man. Just absolute heaviness back in those days. And James could definitely write riffs back then. He had some fucking great riffs. Whether you like Metallica, whether you hate Metallica, back in those days, James Hetfield had the greatest fucking riffs. And plus, let's be honest here, James Hetfield's pretty much a master at downpicking. Because to me, downpicking, you definitely got to be very skilled to downpick like he picks. Because he just goes full force. You know what I mean? But yeah, James Hetfield definitely made me want to play guitar. Obviously, tracks like Master of Puppets, Battery, Fight Fire with Fire, The Four Horsemen, Whiplash, Blackened, The Shortest Straw, One, all those classic Metallica songs is the reason why I picked up a guitar. So yeah, I'm just going by my influences when it comes to my guitar playing, because there's an awful lot of guitar players that I'm really influenced by. A lot I left off of here. Like I know Tony Iommi should have. Let's try this again. Fucking voice is tired. I know Tony Iommi should have been on this list easily. I definitely know probably Ace Frehley should have been on here, even though Ace Frehley doesn't really have much of an impact on me as a lead guitar player. I mean, as far as my style of playing goes, you know what I mean. Angus Young, Malcolm Young, easily. Jimi Hendrix, Ritchie Blackmore, Joe Satriani, Jason Becker, Matthias Jabs, who replaced Ole John Roth in the Scorpions. Just so many other players, man. Tipton and Downing, Adrian Smith and Dave Murray. Man. But I really had to narrow it down to the 10 guitar players that I feel represent my sound as a guitar player. And that's pretty much what I did here. But okay, let's read the comments here. Yep, Dime was an underrated vocalist as well. Yes. Imagine Dime and Ozzy. Fuck, man, that would have been insane. Dimebag liked 50s rock and roll as his big influence been. Yeah, a lot of them guys do. Like, I think a lot of people don't pay attention to what their favorite guitar players are influenced by. They just go by what that guitar player plays. That them themselves are influenced by. They don't think of what that guitar player is also influenced by. If that makes sense. Cliff Burton honorable. Oh fuck, Cliff Burton was just downright amazing. The rips on And Justice for All are killer, absolutely. What are your bassist influences? I'll answer that in a moment. And George Harrison from the Beatles. Now, I'm not the biggest Beatles fan. I mean, I respect them, don't get me wrong. I do like some of their material, especially Helter Skelter. I mean, I like select tracks by the Beatles. Like, if I were to pick a Beatles I do like, it would be their more experimental psychedelic stuff as opposed to their Britpop stuff from the early 60s to mid 60s. But yeah, I'm not like the hugest Beatles fan, but I do respect them, and I do like certain tracks by them. Oh, bass player influences. Ooh, that's a good question, even though I'm not a bass player. I mean, I've picked up a bass and dabbled on it before. And if I'm recording music, I pretty much know what I want when it comes to bass playing. But I would say, okay, I'll give you a few names. Obviously, Cliff Burton. By far, Cliff Burton. To me, Cliff Burton's the greatest bass player of all time. Hands down. Now, another bass player I really like too is obviously Lemmy. Motorhead. We all miss Lemmy. Yeah, Lemmy's definitely one of my all-time favorite bass players just because I love his approach to bass. Like, to me, Cliff and Lemmy kind of had a similar thing going on. Yeah, two different styles of bass playing, don't get me wrong, but they both kind of approached the bass like it was a guitar. And of course, Lemmy, before he did play bass, he played guitar. He was a guitar player, I believe, in Hawkwind. So I think that's why, Lemmy's bass playing sounded the way it sounded, and it worked. Because he played the bass like, how a guitar player would play a guitar. Let's see. Steve Harris of Iron Maiden, obviously, one of the greats. Steve DiGiorgio, obviously Steve DiGiorgio, who's played in a bunch of different projects. Death, Iced Earth. Oh boy. Testament. Sadist. Yeah, Steve DiGiorgio has been all over the place. My God, one of the greatest bass players, that threatless bass playing he does. Jeez. Hey, another great bass player, too, I would pick is Alex Webster of Cannibal Corpse. Another excellent bass player. Yep. Thing I like about Alex Webster, he always plays. Yeah, it's really weird because with Cannibal Corpse's really aggressive music, he always played the bass clean. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. He always played the bass clean. He never added distortion to his bass. So definitely Alex Webster of Cannibal Corpse. Another bass player I really like too is Tom Angel Ripper. Tom Angel Ripper being from Sodom. I really like his bass playing because he kind of has that Lemmy approach to his bass playing. The distortion, playing a bass like it's a guitar. I kind of like Tom Angel Ripper too of Sodom. Even, I would say Gene Simmons is a great bass player. Go back and listen to some of them early Kiss albums. especially Hotter Than Hell. On Hotter Than Hell, Gene Simmons is playing some amazing bass lines, especially on the track Going Blind. Because I think I'm going blind. You know that track. He's really playing some really excellent bass parts on that track. So yeah, Gene Simmons of Kiss, Geezer Butler, Black Sabbath, obviously, you know. Yeah, Cliff Williams is a great bass player. Mark Evans, the original AC/DC bass player, was good. Um, any other bass players that I really enjoy? Ooh, Gary Thane of Uriah Heep. Gary Thane was an absolutely amazing bass player, especially on those classic Uriah Heep albums he played on, like Demons and Wizards, The Magician's Birthday, Sweet Freedom, Wonderworld, you know. So yeah, Gary Thane had some great bass playing. Yeah, obviously Geddy Lee. Geddy Lee was a great bassist also. Oh yeah, definitely. God of Thunder, man. Such a killer track. And yeah, Gene does have some cool bass playing on that track. Like a lot of people sit there and knock Kiss for not being good musicians and not writing great tracks or great songs. Well, go back and really listen to Kiss, especially those old 70s albums, because they could write some decent material if they wanted to. Oh, Geddy Lee, fuck yeah, an amazing bass player, obviously. If I didn't say that already, yeah, Geddy Lee's absolutely brilliant. Another great bass player, too, Greg Christian of Testament, another excellent bass player who's not in, I mean, he's not in Testament anymore, obviously, but yeah, he's a really good bass player, too, Greg Christian. Yeah, and I think a lot of times, too, bass players don't get the recognition that a guitar player would get because there is a lot of good bass players, within metal, too. Oh my god, yeah, Exciter's an excellent track from Lick It Up. Actually, Lick It Up's my favorite Kiss album. I like Lick It Up and I like Hotter Than Hell. Those are my two favorite Kiss albums. Well, you can throw Creatures of the Night in there too. I love Creatures of the Night. You know. Oh, so you play drums. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. I play drums, so drummers is like apples versus oranges. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you're writing a song, it's the drums and the bass that holds it all together. Obviously. Oh yeah, I forget his freaking name. Well, you even got Rob Trujillo, Metallica's bass player, obviously. Played in Ozzy, Jerry Cantrell's solo band, Suicidal Tendencies, Infectious Groove. He's a great bass player. I know a lot of people mock him or knock him because, he's in Metallica, obviously, but he's a good bass player. He's a really good bass player. Oh, yeah, I forget that bass player's name from Faith No More. Oh, Frankie Bellow from Anthrax, another great bass player. Dan Lilker. Dan Lilker, SOD Nuclear Assault. You know, another phenomenal bass player who had some great bass licks on SOD Speak English or Die. Oh man, I love Bobby Blitz. I love Bobby Blitz. Man, wish we had more people here. Because I feel like we're getting a pretty good conversation going here tonight. Yeah, I wish more people would drop by these streams. Because we got the Sentinel here, we got Metal Man Mike here. Starting to become a regular around here. I mean, usually Speed King's here. He lives in a different part of the world, though, so he gets on usually. Like, if I would have done the stream around 11 o'clock, he probably would have came on. Bobby Blitz. Oh, man, yeah, like I said, though, I love Bobby Blitz. In fact, I do plan on doing an Overkill show here in the future. We were talking about Overkill a little bit last night in the stream. Me and Xavier, we were talking about Overkill. To me, Overkill is definitely the most consistent thrash metal band. And to me, Overkill does not have a bad album. And speaking of Overkill, we're just talking about bass players. The great D.D. Verney. D.D. Verney is an amazing bass player. Like, if you listen to that track Stone Cold Jesus from Necroshine, you can hear D.D. Verney playing a little bit of Anastasia pulling teeth at the beginning. You got to really listen to it. I'm sure he probably did that as a tribute to Cliff, you know. But yeah, D.D. Verney, man, what a great bass player. Yeah, he's definitely the one holding that Overkill machine, man. Him and Bobby Blitz, you know. The Who or Pink Floyd? Both classic bands. Which one do I like better? Damn, that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to probably go with The Who. I do like The Who slightly better. Just because there's some Pink Floyd albums I don't care for. Yes, Jason Bittner came from Shadows Fall, yeah. He's a freaking beast on drums, dude. Yeah, man, like every Overkill album is excellent. There's not a bad Overkill in existence. Or a bad Overkill album in existence. They're all good. I mean, yeah, there's some that are better than others, but besides that, their whole catalog is perfect, in my opinion. I'm sure if Metal Ron Haggerty was here, excuse me there, he would definitely agree because he's a huge Overkill fan. Yeah, man. In fact, I told the story last night. Um, it was back in 1996. I was only 17, and I used to live in a town called Friedens, PA. Just a real little town, Friedens. And anyways, I'm 17. We used to have this little dive bar, like not too far from where I live at. And at the time, Overkill put out The Killing Kind, and they were touring for The Killing Kind. Here, Overkill played at this little dinky dive bar. Of course, I'm only 17. I can't get into the place. And I'm like, damn it. Only if I was 21, I'd be going to see that. But yeah, Overkill actually came to my little hometown that I lived in at the time in the middle of nowhere dive bar and played there. Gene Hoglan. Oh my God, Gene Hoglan is like the drum god of metal. Oh my goodness, what a freaking excellent drummer. Oh, you mean Death? Yeah, Gene Hoglan played. I don't think Gene Hoglan. I don't think Gene Hoglan ever played on a Death Angel album. Now, Gene Hoglan played for Dark Angel. You mean Dark Angel? Yeah, Dark Angel. Yeah, Gene Hoglan played for Dark Angel, not Death Angel. But he played for Dark Angel. Death, Testament. I know. I thought he played on an Iced Earth album, though he didn't. But Gene Hoglan's played everywhere. Oh my God, he even played on freaking those Death Clock albums. He played the drums on them. Absolutely, Bill Ward was definitely the originator. You know, but Gene Hoglan, yeah, man, Jesus Christ, what an amazing drummer. Yeah, yeah, Death Clock had Gene Hoglan on it. Just trying to think. He played on a few. He played for a few other bands too. I know I'm not naming everything, but Gene Hoglan's been everywhere. It's fucking Gene Hoglan, man. I'll tell you what. I'd love that Gene Hoglan drum on a Holocaust album. That would be really killer. That's really asking for miracles. Yeah, Vinnie Paul was an underrated drummer. You know, he don't get mentioned much, but he had a really unique drumming style. He had a very different pattern to how he did drums. Like if you listen to that drum work he does on "Becoming" from Far Beyond Driven, he's doing some really weird double bass patterns mixed with just a groove. It's really unique. But yeah, Vinnie Paul was definitely a great drummer indeed. Oh my God, yeah, him and Time. Oh man, that would have been a blast partying with them too. I could just imagine partying with Diamond Vinny, man, or Lemmy, definitely. Yeah, John Bonham's a good drummer too. Yeah, very unique. Yeah, the thing about John Bonham is he never played a big drum kit. You know, like he played a really small drum kit, but he did so much on it. And how can we forget Neil Peart, the late Neil Peart? To me, Neil Peart's the best drummer of all time. The stuff that guy could do on drums, jeez. It's like when you listen to Neil Peart play, it's like reading a book. That's what it's like. It's like reading a book and expanding your imagination going through that book. That's the kind of vibe I get out of Neil Peart's drumming. You know, just some of the oh my god, the stuff he did live. Wow. So yes, man, definitely Neil Peart of Rush. Definitely missed. Yeah, Cozy Powell, man, was another amazing drummer. Obviously he played for Rainbow, ELP, like you said, yeah. Played on a couple Black Sabbath albums. He played on an Yngwie Malmsteen album too. Cozy Powell was on the album Facing the Animal by Yngwie. Yeah. And, jeez, I think that might have been the last album he made. I think that might have been the last album he made, because he passed away the year, that album came out back in 97. Nah, it's a shame. Cozy Powell never gets mentioned. What a great drummer he was. You go back and listen to Rainbow Rising. Jeez. Speaking of Rainbow Rising, today would have been the 45th anniversary of Rainbow Rising. Such a legendary album. Huh. I don't think I ever heard that album. I'm going to have to check that out. Cozy Powell and Peter Green and freaking Michael Shanker on an album together? Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't think I ever heard that. You learn something new every day. All right. I was just checking on my phone. Looks like we only have 4 people watching. Come on, man. We want to turn this into 20, 30, 40, 50 people watching, man. Get that comment section going, asking questions. Yeah. Come on, man. We got to get there eventually. We'll get there eventually. Get out of this rut where you're just a small little YouTuber that nobody cares about. Oh well. Not gonna throw in the towel on YouTube. You know what? Let me look that up real quick. I don't think I'd get a copyright for that one. I know I'm not doing live streams anymore where I play music, but if I play like 1 or 2 songs, it won't hurt nothing. Oh, geez. Oh, man. That's going to be a brutal day, man. It's something I don't want to. Oh, geez. Oh, man. Sorry about that. Yeah, dude, that's something I definitely don't want to think about. Oh, man. It's going to be the worst day in metal once that happens, and I hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime. All right, well, okay, maybe that's not going to work. I'll look it up then and listen to it probably after the stream's over. Yeah, man, I definitely don't want to imagine a world without Ozzy Osbourne. It's already bad enough we don't have Ronnie James Dio and we don't have Lemmy here no more. And a bunch of other greats that we've lost along the way, like Diamond, Vinnie Paul, Cliff Burton, Randy Rhoads. So many others. Well, pushing into an hour here on the stream. Would be terrible, man. Would be terrible. Just gonna wait around a little bit to see if anybody would come in. Anybody else comes in, but it looks like nobody's coming in. I don't know if people are busy tonight. I've noticed too the last couple times I've did streams on a Saturday, it's like they're usually pretty dead. I don't get it either. I like Brian Johnson. There's a lot of good AC/DC albums with Brian Johnson, in my opinion. I mean, my favorite album with Brian Johnson's definitely Flick of the Switch. The new one's great. I like Power Up. Power Up's a great album. Great comeback. And it's what we needed last year. We needed an album like that to come out last year because everything was just so bad in 2020. And, the news comes that AC/DC's coming back. Because nobody expected a new AC/DC album. And we got it. Man, we got it. I'm happy we got it. It was my number one pick of 2020, man. For a reason, because it's what we needed at the time. Yes, sonically, there were albums that came out last year that were musically better. But to me, it made sense to make AC/DC Power Up number one because it was a huge comeback. It was something we didn't expect, or something none of us ever thought was going to happen again. Because of all the stuff that went down prior. Yeah, man, Fly on the Wall's an underrated album. I mean, back in the day, I used to not really care for it, but as of late, man, I've been really into that album. The Razor's Edge, by far. The Razor's Edge gets a lot of shit nowadays by people for whatever reason. I still think it's a good album. To me, The Razor's Edge, it was big back when it came out. I remember back then, man, you would always hear, back when the Razor's Edge came out, you'd always hear Money Talk played on the radio. Money Talks, the title, or Thunderstruck got a lot of radio play back then. Are You Ready got a lot of radio play also. So yeah, that album was quite big. That album almost got as big as Back in Black at that time. Ballbreaker, too. I like Ballbreaker. I think it's an underrated album, too. I think I like Ballbreaker because it has a bit more of a raw production. There's something different about it, but I like it. Now, Stiff Upper Lip, that album I wasn't really much into. I thought the album was a little stale. It was okay, but it wasn't like a memorable AC/DC album. Black Ice had some decent stuff on it. Then you had Rock or Bust, which I thought Rock or Bust was a decent album. But this new one, Power Up, what a good comeback. I'm telling you, man. It's like, man, the day I bought Power Up, I just kept playing it over and over in my vehicle when I went out riding around that day. It's like, okay, end of CD, play it again. Yeah, just a great comeback. Hopefully, we get another AC/DC album in the future. We shall see, I guess. I mean, a lot of these bands, man, are getting up there in age too. Well, from my understanding, I talked about this a little bit last night too. From my understanding, the new Iron Maiden album's finished, but they're waiting to put it out because they want to be back on the road touring, and apparently they're still touring for the video game they put out, that Best of the Beast or whatever it was called. It was like I think it was a one of those video game apps or whatever they put out. They were actually still on tour for that, and they actually want to finish that up. Then they're going to release the new album, from my understanding. Only problem is that new album might not drop till 2022 or 2023. Which to me that's kind of long, especially if the album's finished. But my God, I mean, it really makes you think: is this going to be a triple album? I mean, Book of Souls was a double album. So is this new Iron Maiden album going to be a triple album? Oh Lord, I hope not. Hey, you never know with Iron Maiden. But yeah, from my understanding, this new album's done. Plus, I've also heard stories too that Bruce Dickinson wants to do another solo album. Now, I've heard these for a while. I don't know how accurate and true this is. But yeah, apparently Bruce Dickinson wants to make another solo album. Which would be kind of cool because we haven't got a solo Bruce Dickinson album since Tyranny of Souls back in 2005. Which, that was kind of weird how that came out because he never even toured for it. That album comes out when he's in the middle of touring for Iron Maiden. It's like the album came out and it just disappeared, and was never really talked about again. Weird circumstances, but yeah, you know. Yeah, that's a good album. I mean, yeah, I think Redeemer of Souls is actually a pretty good comeback for Priest. After Nostradamus, yeah, I think Redeemer of Souls is a much better album. It would have been the first album too with Richie Faulkner on guitars. You know, I think my only complaint with that album with Redeemers of Souls, if I had one complaint, the production's not the greatest. And I do think Rob Halford's vocals sound weak in spots. That's just a minor gripe, though. Either or, it's still a decent album. Like, to me, on the track Metalizer, yeah, like on Metalizer, something is not gelling on that track. It just seems like a clusterfuck of a track. And I think it has one of Rob Halford's worst vocal performances. I mean, if you listen to that track, it sounds like he's forcing himself to try to sing high like that. And it's not really working, like how he did on Painkiller. Now, Firepower, what a great album. Firepower was amazing. And Rob sounds amazing again on that album. Yeah, he did. Yep, very true. Because I remember reading that way back in 2000. Actually, that Dio had material that he wanted to put out for a Magica 2 and a Magica 3. Unfortunately, it never happened. Would have been would have been interesting, but now unfortunately we're never going to get it. And I'm pretty sure he probably had stuff written down for it. I mean, it would have been pretty interesting to see what Magica 2 and 3 would have sounded like. It is. I mean, it's an album that I don't want to say it gets hate. It doesn't really get hate, but a lot of people, every time I see somebody talk about Magica, they always say the album's boring. It's weird. I never thought it was a boring album. In fact, there's a few really good tracks on that album, especially as long as it's not about love. What a great track! What a freaking amazing vocal performance by Dio on that track. I'm sure he did, man. Dio was always writing, and we would have gotten him too eventually. Had he lived. And speaking of which, tomorrow is the anniversary, you know, of when we lost Ronnie James Dio. You know, a true legend. I did a tribute to him last. I did a tribute to him last year. That's a pretty tough video to make because a lot of emotions came out of that video. It's still up on the channel if you want to watch it. If you haven't watched it, actually, I am actually thinking about doing something tomorrow. Since tomorrow is the anniversary of when we lost Ronnie James Dio. I'm thinking about well, today was actually the anniversary day of it. I actually found this out late. I probably knew in the past and really forgot about it, but tomorrow or today would have been the 45th anniversary of Rainbow Rising. I'm thinking about doing a review of it tomorrow. And it would fit perfectly since tomorrow is, the celebrate or the anniversary of when we lost Dio. Yeah, Master. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that album. I think it's an okay. What am I trying to say here? I like all the Dio albums. I really do. Like, there's some albums that are better than others. But yeah, Master of the Moon would have been the last thing he did solo. Even I can admit I don't have much memory of it. I'm gonna have to break it out and listen to it. Like, even albums I didn't like before, like Angry Machine. I used to hate Angry Machine. I remember I bought Angry Machine back in '96, like right around the time it came out. I I took it home, or no, I went to a friend's place. I remember this. I went to my friend's place after I had bought it, and I'm like, I got this new Dio album. Let's listen to it. We put it on. We're like, oh, this album sucks. At the time, I mean, I was like 16, 17 back then. That's an album that took a long time to grow on me. Now I absolutely adore it. I think Angry Machine's an underrated Dio album. I think what it was too, like back in '96, I didn't know much about Dio yet. I wasn't the biggest fan of Dio at the time because I remember too. Also, when I was younger, I told this story before. I bought "Lock Up the Wolves" on cassette tape. Oh my god, this must have been around '92, '91. I found it in a $5 cassette bin and I bought it. I did not like it at the time. And after that, I never really gave Dio a chance until later on. What kind of got me more interested in Dio, I was starting to discover the Ozzy albums, or the Black Sabbath albums without Ozzy. This would have been around '98. And this would have been around the time I finally heard Heaven and Hell and the Mob Rules. So that's what opened me up to Dio. I thought those albums were incredible. After that, I checked out everything and just fell in love with Dio. Absolutely fell in love with Ronnie James Dio's music. And now, albums like Lock of the Wolves and Angry Machine, like I said, I love them now. I guess back then I was so young and naive that I didn't really understand it at the time. Oh man, I love Strange Highway. Strange Highway, man. What an excellent album. Absolutely heavy, dude. Like, I'm happy, man. Like, that I did finally discover Dio, or I should say rediscover Dio after hearing the Black Sabbath stuff back in '98. Because, man, Dio definitely put out a lot of great music. But, tell you what, man, I think I'm going to end the stream. There's only two people watching. Yeah, Saturdays have been weird. Like, usually Fridays, if I stream Fridays, I get people here. Saturdays, not so much. Don't understand what's up with that. I bet you there are. There's probably a vault of unreleased Dio material, if I were to guess. Easily. It'd be interesting, you know. I'm sure Wendy Dio has it locked up away somewhere. I'm sure there's unreleased Dio material. In fact, speaking of that, before I end the stream, um, I saw this a couple months ago. It would have been on Ralph Vieira's channel, actually. He was talking about it in his metal news episodes that he does. He was saying that yeah, he was saying that a Dio track got linked to YouTube. Um, a Black Sabbath era Dio track, that is. And it was recorded around the time they were recording Heaven and Hell. But I cannot remember the name of the track right now. I did listen to it, it sounded way different. It's weird because the track that I heard sounded like it could have been off Never Say Die, to be honest. That's the kind of vibe I got. It didn't have the Heaven and Hell vibe to it. But I cannot remember the name of the track right now. In fact, you know what? I'll look it up real quick. All right. Yes, somebody uploaded it to their YouTube channel. Yeah, that's it. Slapback. Yep, Slapback. That's the track. Yeah. Yes, somebody uploaded it here on YouTube. How they found this, I have no freaking clue. I mean, it's an interesting listen, but yeah, it definitely don't sound like what you would hear on Heaven and Hell or The Mob Rules. Like I said, to me, it sounds like it could have been on the Never Say Die album. And it's probably a track that, yeah, they were messing around with, I'm sure, and we're like, yeah, we're not using it, you know. Yes, Slapback, yes. It's kind of weird we're not getting any people here tonight. I wouldn't mind keeping this going a little longer, but like I said, Saturdays are weird. Yeah, I'm ending the stream anyways. It's pretty dead around here tonight. But yeah, thanks for dropping by, Metal Rail fan Mike. As always, starting to become a regular around the channel. We'd love it. Anyways, that's the stream for tonight. Hopefully next time we can get a really decent crowd in here, get some really cool conversations going, you know. And that's it for now. Thanks for those who did join in, man. All right, peace out.